Ladies and gentlemen, we are back like we never left right here on the Cat's Corner podcast with your host, the three-time world karate champion, WCW legend, WWE legend, recently on an episode of The Vault with the WWE, Mr. Ernest the Cat Miller. I am your co-host, Ray W. Don't mean to trouble you, Keziah, a.k.a. Big Shug, manager of future Hall of Famers. And we are live. And before we get started, how about a word from our illustrious sponsor?
We're Resite. Of course we offer all-inclusive site work. We're Resite. Of course we have a dynamic site crew. We're Resite. We have secure foundations. We're Resite. Of course we're good stewards. Resite redefines the way site work is done. Contact us at resite.com. It's re-site.com.
re-site.com, resite.com. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget about our Cash App, $ Cat's Corner Podcast. Cat's Corner Podcast. Cash App us. Let's keep this show going.
But Ray, why would somebody cash app us?
Because just think about it. They go to Starbucks and drink a $10 cup of coffee. They can't give us $10 for all this entertainment. I mean, come on. You got me on here, for heaven's sakes.
How do you know they're being entertained by you? I mean,
well, because look at what we're doing, man. Look at our guests we have. We got great guests. Sometimes it ain't free to get them on.
You know, but you know what? It is kind of. I'm glad that they are tuning in. You know, we're getting a lot of feedback. We just sent this fan a whole box full of autographed pictures and my T-shirts just for being the first fan to donate to the Cash App. Cat's Corner, Cash App.
Yes, sir.
So that was a good thing right there, man. And you know, we're moving up. We're getting the subscribers. They coming in. They watching us. So what we want to do is just keep it up, man. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys like to tune in and hear what the Cat's Corner is talking about. Being me, the Cat, and Big Ray. Big Ray, they call you Big Shug for what?
Man, I'm sweet like sugar, man. You've heard of Shug Knight? I'm Shug White.
You look like a big glob of sugar, a sugar cube. That's what you look like. So I can understand that.
Grande glucose. But we've been away for a little bit. So what's been going on? Catch us up a little bit.
We haven't been away. I just want people to understand. So when we're not here, think about this. Look for us at Marks on the Mic. This is
another show we've started.
This is an opportunity we give the fans their platform to speak to the wrestlers, talk to us about anything. Like I'm talking to a Mark every day. Every time I speak to Big Ray, look at Big Ray. Ray is a Mark. Ray just tried to tell me, for instance, very first.
You're gonna go here. Okay.
My very first wrestling match on TV. And he yelled at me and told me I did not know. Your wrestling day on TV was when you jumped in the ring and kicked somebody in the back of the head.
In the back of the head.
And I said, no, it was before then. I had a match before then. And this guy gonna tell you, it wasn't, I mean, it was a good match for me, but it wasn't very good for him. First of all, he was in the ring with a real live kickboxer. A real live martial artist that knew nothing about wrestling.
A real live action hero.
I wasn't no action hero, but I was just tuned. I was fine-tuned. I was in the best shape. I had just came off fighting about like 2 kickboxing matches. And now I got to convert to going in the ring with wrestlers. Well, you act
like this guy wasn't in shape. His whole gimmick's been, he's a body man. This man's been in shape the whole time.
Ray, if you listen to me, you'll understand where I'm going. If you want to talk over me, listen to me. It's a little bit more to just looking good in the ring. You can't just look good. When I said tune, that means if I threw a kick and I wanted to kick your ear off your head, I hit the ear. If I wanted to throw a kick and hit the chin with a kick, I hit the chin. So I was well tuned I was dead on spots with my technique. Now in wrestling, you don't have to get to the chin to make it look like you hit the chin. It's up to the guy to make it, to sell it for you. So when they give me a kick, sometimes you can kick the hand and look like you ripped the heads off because they are so used to making you look good, making people look good. That's what it's about, making each other look good. So I was just thinking about this. So I remember, matter of fact, talking about my kickboxing career. I got a fan named Keziah Dunn, my number one fan. This is a good friend of mine. He followed me to all my kickboxing, karate matches, and he was used to me knocking people out. He was always used to me winning, kicking people in karate, kicking people, knocking them out. I had a great name. Then one of my first wrestling matches, I think I lost on TV. I went through that streak to where I was just losing. I was losing matches. But the thing is, I wasn't just losing matches. I was getting over because I made the crowd want to see me lose. And see, that's a tough thing to do when in kickboxing, if I'm fighting and I lost one match, two match, three, people going to stop wanting to see you fight.
Yeah.
They're going to stop wanting to see you fight. But in wrestling, there's a thing where you can still get over with the crowd by losing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't understand it, but Muhammad Ali told me something, and he wasn't talking to me, but I was listening to it, and I act like I was in a conversation with him. He said, listen, I don't care how you feeling that day. I don't care if you losing or winning. Always show your best face like there's nothing above you. There's nothing to keep you down. I took that into wrestling. So this friend who was so used to watching me, and it's so funny how your best friends be the ones who sometimes call you out, and they call you out in a way to where it can almost look like jealousy or whatever. It might be jealousy or whatever, but they'll call out the bad things before they call out the good things.
Of course. That's how most friends do you. Go ahead.
So not most friends. I try to always focus on the good thing with my friends. So he was the first one to call me after I lost. And he was like, man, why are you always losing on TV? I said, first of all, it's pro wrestling. It's not real. And I said, matter of fact, if you get so tied up in watching me lose, I said, next time I'm on my back looking up at the lights, I want you to look at my face while the referee counted me out 1, 2, 3. Look at my face. Every time I go down like that, I have a smile on my face. And the only thing I'm thinking about is that check I'm about to take to the bank.
I was going to say, you get paid the same whether you win or lose.
The same whether you win or lose. And sometimes you get paid more because it's hard to find someone that the crowd can get into, even when they lose or even when people say they're not a big name. They used to call them like people like I don't know some of the wrestlers' name, but they had people like Ric Flair. Ric Flair used to put people over a lot. And when he got the belt, that's why it meant something, because he won the belt how many times?
16. They say officially 16, but it's more like 35.
So if he won the belt 15, that means he lost how many fights? At least 14.
Well, he's the 16-time world heavyweight champion. That means he's lost it 17 times. Or 16, obviously.
Yeah, what I just said. The same thing I just said.
Right.
I said if he's 16, if he won it 16 times, that means he lost at least 15 fights.
Right. Or 16, because he ain't the champ now, so he's lost it. So he's lost it.
We ain't talking about now. Ray, follow me, please.
I'm trying to follow you, but go ahead.
Listen to what I'm saying. It's do the math. In order for you to win 16-time world champion, you had to lose a few times along the way, right?
A lot of times, I'm sure, yeah.
So 15, if you got 16, and now you can look back and say, I lost at least 15 fights. I had to lose it, get it, lose it, win it, lose it, win it, lose it, win it. So that's what I'm talking about. So Ric Flair is that face that people like to see, no matter win or lose or draw. They want to see Ric Flair. No guys right there stay around a long time.
Oh, yeah.
A long time. And I'm not calling our upcoming guest a loser or a jobber, but he gonna tell you about this because he's been in the business a very long time.
Oh yeah,
Johnny Swinger. I mean, wait till you get in and you hear some of the places he's been, some of the people he worked with, and he got. I know he got a good story.
He debuted in 1993. He's been around a long time, baby.
Yeah.
32 years in the business.
Let's bring Johnny Swinger on. He'll tell us himself how long he's been around.
Welcome to Swing Man, Johnny Swinger.
Can I call you Swinger?
Swing Daddy is what it looks like.
Call me whatever you want if you send me $50, Daddy.
Hey, bro, there you go again. I told you I'm gonna pay you next week.
Half price for you, cat.
What's up, Johnny? How you doing, Swing Daddy?
What a lucky break for me to get in the cat's corner. I mean, how many people get an opportunity on a Wednesday night? I mean, geez, what a lucky deal for me. I couldn't.
What a life you must be living. The guy you have time to be on the cat's corner on Wednesday night.
That's right, Daddy.
But I already know you got a beautiful family, man. Tell us a little bit about your family, man. I know you got 3 kids?
Yeah, I got them locked up in the attic right now. Hopefully they don't start making noise and ruin this deal for us here. I'm going to get some ratings.
Wait a minute. What deal?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. So you got 3 kids.
I got 2. Hey, watch it, buddy.
No, you ain't told
Unless
the family
there's one you know about that I don't.
Said 2 that we know about.
You ain't tell about the one in Jacksonville?
There's 2 I'm paying for. That's all I know.
Now, one looked like you, a crowd between you and Disco. And
well,
I remember
hopefully he'll grow out of that.
So let me ask you something. Are any of your kids into wrestling?
Either of my kids? Oh gosh, no, they're too smart for that.
really?
And I didn't have to teach them either. They just figured it out on their own that that's Dad's job and that's where it's going to stay.
I mean, so now let me ask you this, John. Don't lie. Ask them. I want you to ask them, what does it feel like to have a celebrity father?
There's an age limit on that. From 4 years old to maybe 11 or 12. And then after that, they don't want to know nothing. They don't want to hear from anybody. They want it to, as we say, kayfabe it. And that's pretty much what it is. Now it's an embarrassing thing. So
what?
When you go to school and Rick Steiner's on the school board and his son's on the Monday Night Raw and your dad's on the Independents wrestling 85-year-old Chick Donovan, that's a lot to handle for a kid, don't you think?
Oh, my God. Now, let me ask you, was there any other career you thought about doing before you became a pro wrestler? Or you know how you grow, you're a little kid. My thing was, I want to be a cop.
That was my big downfall. No, I didn't have that. And I was warned about that, but I didn't listen. And I just kept grinding it out because there was no other option. So when I had bad times, everyone has bad times in our profession, but I got to stick with it because there's no degree, there's no higher education. And the main thing, there is no desire. As you know, it takes a lot of desire to become what we are. And well, geez, I'm just going to come up with something else now. Easier said than done.
So, I mean, but you've had a pretty good career. I've seen you everywhere. One of my things was that kept me moving forward is when I left WCW. For some reason, I said, it's an opportunity for me to be in WWF or WWE. And then I could say, hey, I made the rounds. I went to the 2 largest companies in the world. So that's why that kept me motivated to go to that next company. What motivated you to go from one then to the next one? And which one of them the best? I know you was in TNA, right?
Yep. Started with you there at WCW. That was my beginnings as far as TV was concerned. And when you mention all those other ones like TNA and ECW, was a big deal. But it all goes back to the beginning, which there's an old saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And that's what I say WCW is. Mm-hmm. It was the best experience for me. I just didn't know it at the time because I was chasing something bigger. It never got any bigger than that.
Now, did you chase the money or did you chase the fame?
One of the biggest mistakes that I made, what happens to a lot of people, is I started hearing what other people were making money wise. And no matter what you're making, well, man, why is that guy making 3 times as much as me? It's the worst thing that can happen to you. And what made me overlook the WCW run was I had 2 friends that I broke in with that were big stars in the WWF, and they told me what they were making, and I'm like, gee whiz, if I can make half what they're making, I could retire in 5 years. So that's all. It became about the fame, the money, the fame. They kind of go together. More about the money once you start doing it on TV, as you know. If you're getting over, if you're getting famous, the money's going to come with it. They're not separate things; they go together.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of strange though, because I always felt when I went there, man, I said I'm doing this straight for the money. I want to get out as much money as I can because I said I know this can't last too long because first of all, injuries and things, anything could happen. You know, it's like with WCW. I think the downfall with WCW was when Eric got dismissed or let go. Then things started to change around there. Most definitely crumble around there. What do you think about that? Because I know you was around doing
I
that
agree.
time too.
Yeah. I left in the fall of '99, so that was kind of right before Vince Russo came in the fold. So all the time I was there, Eric was the boss, and Kevin Sullivan was the booker, and then that, as you remember, that kind of changed out here. Eric had final say on everything, and I had just gotten to that point where I wasn't breaking through there to the position that I would have hoped for. So I had hopes for going to the WWF, which is why I left. And when that didn't work out, that's when I ended up in ECW, which was like a rebuilding phase for me, as far as making my name and my exposure bigger, so that I could actually even come back to WCW in a higher position. If you remember, guys like Raven and Sandman and all those guys, they all came in on $250,000, so I would have liked to get a taste of that. See, I knew all those numbers. So that's what I did. I went to ECW for a year, and I think I was there. I was one of the principal talents in ECW. And then lo and behold, Vince McMahon buys everything out from under everybody. So there was nowhere to go after that.
But I mean, how did you develop your character as Johnny Swinger? Did somebody place that on you? Did somebody tell you to go out there with your shirt on, your hair slicked back? How did you come up with that character?
No, well, the Johnny Swinger name was given to me as an independent before I went to WCW. It was shortly before I did my first television match in WCW in 1995. So I'd only been wrestling for about a year. And a guy out of Detroit who's still around, A.T. Huck, he told me, he goes, I got this Cool in the Gang tape, and we're going to play this music for you, Hollywood swinging. You're going to be Johnny Swinger.
Oh, yeah.
I said, man, as long as you put me out there, I'll be whatever you want. And then before I knew it, I was booked on WCW TV. And once you're on TV and you got a name, you don't want to go changing your name around. So I just went with the name. As far as character was concerned, I idolized the physique guys, when I was younger, like Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect and all those guys. And I patterned myself after those guys in the beginning. And then you just kind of develop over the years. The more experience you get, the more people you're in there with. And as you know, in the mid to late 90s, WCW was packed full of well-experienced superstars. And every time I got in the ring with one of those guys, I took something with me, and kept it in my repertoire.
Now listen to people would not believe that when we were talking about WCW and everybody that was under contract were big stars. You had some of the. You had some guys on the contract, man, that I watched on TV. Now here they are going to the ring, and I'm about to wrestle these guys. I was like, now what in the hell can I do with these guys who've been in the business for 20, 30 years? I had one of my first Saturday morning matches with Dirty Dick Slater.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't even know he was still on the contract till he came in. They said, you're gonna wrestle Dirty Dick Slater. That's somebody I was in love with watching, back in the day. Who was the most famous wrestler you ever wrestled, other than me?
My first TV match was with Johnny B. Bad, and he was a pretty big star at the time, Mark Marrow there. But I got to wrestle so many guys there, like Greg the Hammer Valentine. He's a guy that I grew up, as a kid, idolizing, and, just people like that. And I remember hearing at one point there was 180 wrestlers under contract. And like you said, they were all well-known people with WWF exposure, and not until the late 90s when the other power plant guys started coming into the fold. But it was hard to get pushed there, get a full-time position, because there was so much talent going. You had Malenko and Benoit and Eddie Guerrero coming in from Japan with all kinds of credentials. So you're not going to, there was so many levels there that it was just difficult. A guy like you had a great gimmick coming from the karate world. You had Goldberg coming in, money dripping off him right away with that look and intensity. Steve McMichael he was a Super Bowl champion. I mean, these are just people that you don't have to waste any time on. See, a guy like me, they had to build, and they didn't have time for that. They had instant star power, so they had to run with that for live programming.
But for you to be in this business, as long as you've been in the business, you had a great name. For some reason, your name stuck in people's head. I don't know if I think if they would have took a little bit more time to develop you, I think that would have been even better. I think you would have really got over. I can't say got over, because you know what? You can't nobody tell you what to work or what to get over. You know that people can tell, hey, Johnny, go out there and do this, you're going to get over. But I'm just saying, man, to me, you was a top-notch guy out there in the business. Everybody respected you.
Well, I appreciate that, because I was really in my early years in that period you're talking about. My early 20s. I got signed that first contract when I was 21, just before I turned 22. And at that point, I was the youngest wrestler under contract on a guarantee. I was pretty proud of that to this day. You remember Rey Mysterio and Alex Wright were both there. Those guys are maybe 6 months, a year older than me. So really just to get that deal and get the opportunity to wrestle on that big time TV on a regular basis really was a humongous break, which I realized then, and even more so now, when it's not there anymore. And then you're going to the ECW, and the TNA is great, but it's a tenth of the audience that we had on TBS Saturday night, right? Or just the Nitro, we had 2-3 million people watching that, and now they struggle to get in the hundreds of thousands of people. So it's all about exposure. If you're wrestling in front of 3 or 4 million people, you're going to be a lot more known than if you're wrestling in front of 80 or 90,000 TV rate. So it was a boom period. So me and Buff talk about it all the time. There is a plane, and that plane's full of top guys, and we're hanging on the wings. Guys like me and Lenny Lane, and you know what I mean? We're getting a piece of the pie, albeit a small piece, but there's a whole bunch of people on the ground trying to grab at our ankles. And that's what that was at that time.
Big Red's a big fan. He's a mark. He's quiet now, like he's starved.
Well, I'm just listening. I'm not trying to step on you, but I mean, he's what you would call a hell of a hand in the business. I mean, he was a mechanic. He was smooth in the ring. I thought your TNA stuff was great when you were doing those vignettes when y'all were at the house and doing all that stuff. And I thought it was good TV. I mean, I really did, when you had Tommy Dreamer and the whodunits and all that stuff. I thought it was great. Talk about that. Was that something? Whose idea was that to come up with the TNA when y'all were doing that TV show? It seemed like a show inside of a show.
Right. That was just to backtrack a bit. That's my recent run there, 2019 to 24. Where I was actually there in 2003, so I had been there before. I had a run there previously.
Yeah, you and Simon Diamond were there.
Yeah, right. We carried over from ECW, and actually had the tag team title reign there. So that was more of a serious wrestler run, which was very good. But what you're talking about is coming back. Gosh, how many years later? 2005 to 19. That's 14 years later that I came back on there. I don't think anybody was expecting that, but Scott D'Amore, yeah, because I mean, a lot of people will say, well, they're bringing Edge back and they're bringing Christian, and you got those guys are major stars. They don't usually bring back a guy 15 years later that when I left WWE in 2006, I was, basically obscure. You know what I mean? So I got an opportunity later in life in my mid 40s, opportunity to be a character, kind of like you, Kat, and what Norman Smiley did there towards the end of WCW, where everyone knows you're a style.
By the way, Norman Smiley, I just got off the phone with him. He told me to tell you hello. He just said you're a good dude, but he told me to tell you hello.
Man, he's a super guy too, and I had a lot of good matches with him back in WCW. But like him and like you guys, you two are the perfect example of what I did. I really threw myself into becoming a colorful character, and that at 45 years old, more people were talking about what I was doing on there than at any point. And that's with a smaller viewership, by the way. So that just tells me that characters is what the people wanted, and they still want it. And I think there's still room for that in today's TV.
It was hilarious. I thought it was good work, real good work.
Listen, Johnny, this Johnny Swinger. I just want everybody to know he's one of the best workers in the business. I worked with him a few times, man. But the thing I want to ask you though, you just said something that I found out a little later. When people call me and say, "Hey, Kat, how do I get into wrestling?" I said, "What can you do?" He said, "I can do everything. I can flip over the ropes. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this." And I was like, "Bro, you ain't said the right thing, though. You got to have some kind of charisma. You got to have something that make people want to not just watch you, but want to be you. They want to be on your team." Now, when did you figure it out? One day, was it your first, second year in the business, or third year in the business? When did you figure out, like, I need to work on the psychology. I need to work on the business. I need to work on my gimmick. When and how did you figure it out?
Well, back then they would actually tell you, like Kevin Sullivan would pull me aside after TV match and go, "Why'd you do this? You should have did that." Terry Taylor was another mentor to me and a good friend to this day. And those guys, they really helped me out a lot. Paul Orndorff was still an agent at the time, and he took a liking to me. And those guys would give me good advice and tell me why I should do something in the ring at a certain time and why I shouldn't. And man, if they seen what was going on now, they'd be beating the heck out of these guys in the back, because some of it doesn't make sense and they're going too fast and the people don't have time to simmer all that. So it's just the years of experience, which is practice. You know what I mean? Which you do for 2 years and then you're still doing it 20 years later. You're just going to be more proficient just by doing it and being in contact with so many people. I mean, I wrestled Dusty Rhodes, when he was 60. So I'm not running him through leapfrogs and arm drags and all stuff. So you have to learn how to make a match with someone that, and then he's the perfect example. You don't need to do that stuff with because the people love him so much as a character. So you adapt to who you're in there with.
So talking about that, Norman Smiley and I talked about a match we had. I think it was my first dark match up to WWE. Yeah, we got there late. It was a traffic jam, and this is unlike these times. If you got there right at an hour or 30 minutes before the doors open, guess what? You stuck in all kinds of traffic. Because you remember the line used to be around the corner of people getting in, coming and see it. So Norman Smiley and I got there late. And when we got there late, the show had already started. They said, "Hey, you and Norman Smiley have a match in like 20 minutes. We didn't have time to go over anything. We just went in there. We know each other. So let's just call it in the ring and have fun." So they showed me this match, and I watched the match, and I was like, "Man, that was pretty good." And then talking to Norman said, "You know what? Remember, we didn't call anything. We just knew each other. We had a good match." And Norman Smiley said, right now, today, the way they do it now, they got producers. And they produce everything that these guys do in the ring. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell that secret, but
I think the people know.
He think that, and tell me, what you think about this. He think that the matches are too produced now.
Overproduced, yeah.
What do you think about this, Johnny? You think? I mean, do you? First of all, do you watch it now at all?
I don't watch. Yeah, I don't watch too much of the current stuff. Just because I'm not involved with it. I hear a lot though by being with the independents, and I hear the guys talk about it, and I kind of saw even with TNA when I was with them, like what you said, overproduced and really, I hate the word script, but just really planning out move for move, and that just seems so hard to me. Like it would be easier for you and I to go in the ring with a finish and maybe a start, something in the middle, and then we can fill in. And if someone gets knocked loopy, we can switch it, and no one will know. What they're doing now, to me, I don't know how they do it. How do you go out there and remember 14 minutes of just all this stuff? And then the producers are writing it all down. I'm like, this is so foreign to me. It's just not the way I started. And most of my time on television was not like that. It was, it's an improv business is what it is. And I think it's
entertainment.
Yeah, you gotta let the fans decide where you go.
How do you entertain somebody when you trying to remember what you got to do? Some of the most entertaining moment in my life in the ring was just we was out of plays and we got to fill this gap. Let Brad Armstrong. I threw him outside the ring. Now he was supposed to be in the ring. So I was like, man, how you gonna get back in the ring? He said, just fill the gap. Just stay in the ring and fire up. I said, what you gonna do? He went out there and grabbed the bell and act like he was gonna throw the bell at me. He stayed out there for about 2 minutes with the bell, and the crowd was going crazy. The crowd going crazy for him. Get that bell out of his hand. Brad Armstrong was the perfect example of somebody that was a creative master. You know, he doing the match. He was just such a good person. And I keep bringing up Brad name because working with you, I felt the same way. They said this guy's young, and we ain't gonna talk about what's really happened at the end. Now you forgave me. You did. Now, if you bring that up, you see, I'm gonna tell everybody about that moving ponytail you got on the back of your head.
Well, I'm a Christian. I have to forgive. That's
okay. Oh,
what did he do to you? What did he do to you, Johnny? Tell the people. What did he do to you that you had to forgive him?
Nothing that sent me to the hospital, and that's what I go by. Okay. And like you said, in 32 years, I've only had to go to the hospital one time. The guy in ECW, it was an accident. He punched me in the eye, broke my orbital bone.
Oh, wow.
So I had to have a surgery to repair that. That's the only real injury that I count in all these years.
Did they have to put a plate? Did they put a plate there? Or
yeah, what? Screws and stuff like that. That's, so I always.
Who did it? Who punched you?
There was, you guys remember Joey Mercury? He was in the MMA. Well, W, he had a different partner. It was him and another guy. His name was Christian York. Nice kid, good worker. He just got excited out there, and I fed in for a punch, and man, he landed it right on my eyeball, and I almost lost my eye over it.
Damn.
So the point is, broken noses, chipped teeth. That all comes with the territory. Like I said, if I don't have to go get a surgery, man, that's it's not ballet out there. It's a pretty physical endeavor. Kurt Angle will tell you that. He's an Olympic gold medalist, and you take a beating doing this. You know that going in. If you're getting hurt all the time, then that's something to look into. You're probably doing something wrong.
Correct.
So if you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do different?
I would have stayed that extra year in WCW and collected that money I had coming.
I thought for sure you should have been in that rotation. Remember when Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio and who else was with those guys? When they left WCW,
yeah,
go into W. I thought for sure.
Once again, that's what I saw. Yeah, and I remember Chris leaving. We worked together down at Actually told me I was probably one of his last days and that he was going there. And man, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to follow those guys. And like I said, I heard some pretty big numbers, which I thought my thing was great. But then when you hear what these other people are making and you see that's not a pipe dream, that's a possibility. You know what I mean? It can screw you up a little bit. It did cause me to leave early. to ask to leave early, and it didn't work the way I wanted it to, which is, like I said, why I ended up with ECW. But like you said, it's the entertainment business. One role leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. So that's how I ended up. Well, Swinger, how'd you get to TNA? Well, I was known from ECW. How'd you get to ECW? I was known from WCW. So once you got to get that first exposure. And even though I didn't get that big push in WCW, I was on that TV pretty regular when, a lot of people were watching.
Yeah. But didn't you spend some time in WWE?
I did. I went there in 2005 from TNA, the first run at TNA. And the way that came about is that Jarrett switched the booking, and I was on a nightly guarantee, but not a weekly. So I wasn't being booked, so I wasn't getting paid. So that was a rough. By that point, I had a wife and a 1-year-old, so I needed to work. And so I asked for a release out of there, and my old friend Tommy Dreamer from ECW was involved in the office with WWE, and he got me an opportunity there. And it was kind of a bottom of the, get you in kind of thing. And then it kind of like WCW, there was so much going on there that it was hard to break through. So I was only there probably about a year and a half.
You were in OVW though in 05 with those guys, weren't you?
No, we had a thing in Georgia. It was called Deep South.
You were in the Deep South portion of it?
Yeah, Bill DeMott.
Did you work with Cena? Did you work Cena and those guys in their early days down there when they were traveling around, or
no? Cena was OVW, and that was more in the early 2000s, 2001. So at that point, I was still in ECW.
Gotcha.
WCW. If you remember, ECW and WCW were bought around the same time in that spring of 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't come. TNA started the following year, and I went into TNA in 03 to 05 with them, and then finally to WWE. But once again, just wasn't good timing it wasn't, hey, we're going to bring you in with this plan. We'll bring you in because you're known and you're a good talent and everyone likes you, and maybe we can do something at some point. But man, time goes by and they're just not doing it, and you get paid according to your slot on the card there. It's not like WCW. You could have a $5,000 a week guarantee and they're not using you. They weren't doing that. If you weren't working, you weren't getting paid much.
Now, in which business did you have the opportunity, or somebody had the opportunity to really give you a push or give you a chance? Which one do you think it was? WCW, WWE, or ECW?
Probably ECW, because it was a one-man show. That Paul E was running the whole thing, and him and Dreamer, they didn't have producers, agents. There was 2 cameramen, and I don't know what the crew was at the time, maybe 25 people. But the thing about that was he'd give you a chance, and if you got over, he'd use you, and if you didn't, you wouldn't be there. So I think that ECW was the last real opportunity where they bring somebody in and go, we're going to give you a chance to get over. And if you do, you can stay. And if you don't, you're out of here. So I think that it was the last real territory. And you weren't getting paid either until after you got over. So.
And did they pay you? Did they pay you in check or cash?
We were paid in checks. And I had a very small check. And I spent a lot of nights thinking about what my WCW guarantee was just 6 months prior to being what you'd call a featured star there on pay-per-view and everything. I'm like, geez, man, I'm taking a step up name-wise, but I'm going way backwards money-wise. So that was
just didn't have the money to pay.
You're right, he didn't. I don't know why, because they were drawing houses. I think there were debts ran up TV-wise with TV production. But the best houses in the history of that 7 years was that last year of 2000.
Sure.
6,000 people.
It gained so much momentum.
Yeah.
And that's when Vince came in and saw the potential, and then he just took it.
Yeah.
Paul Lee had no choice at the time.
I don't think Vince came in and saw potential. I saw Vince came in and say, let's get this shit out the way. He squashed it. He wasn't looking for.
Well, he did the invasion angle and all that other shit.
But that didn't work. They didn't do anything. That did not work for Vince.
It did work. It did
work.
No, it
did not work for Vince. He can't tell. He gonna try to tell us because he a mark But
The
that
numbers speak for
Vince,
themselves.
I don't think Vince really had no idea what he was gonna do. He just know, I don't have to worry about these guys anymore.
Right.
I own these guys.
Well, he was never really worried about ECW. He liked some of the talent.
No, bro, ECW was doing well for a minute there, right?
Financially, it was never doing well.
All 3 shows. What do you think about it? Johnny, you were there. Do you think it was a time ECW was doing well?
Well, I remember the TV ratings were around 1 million. We were drawing 1 million people on that TNN. I don't think that some of these guys of today are doing that. Some of these
they're not.
organizations. So I think about the viewership, and as you know, Nitro was even more, a lot more than that.
Yeah,
and they said it was no good. So it's like, well, wait a minute now. We had doing 1.8s and stuff, and they're canceling TBS Saturday night, and we're like, why? Yeah, I mean, it's to this day that would be a good rating.
But I don't think ECW was no threat to WCW or WWE, and nobody even you never heard ECW come out of Eric's mouth. His target was always WWF and Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon was always with WCW and Ted Turner. That was the fight. They didn't care about that. So I think when Vince McMahon came in and just say, you know what? I'm gonna buy all this. I'm gonna own all this. I'm gonna be one big promoter, probably just like they said his father did back in the day when he took over the territory. So, did you ever have any kind of situation with a top guy, somebody you worked with or worked for? Like, did you not like a certain producer or promoter or anybody in the business, or you love everybody?
I don't love everybody, but I realize everybody has their own opinion. And in the pro wrestling business, a lot of your success depends on what someone else's opinion of you is. And doing it as long as I have, I've seen that opinions vary greatly. They really do. Where Bullet Bob Armstrong and Robert Fuller thought I was a great talent, which means if I was back in the territory days, I probably would have been a pretty big star. But fast forward to WWE, Michael Hayes didn't really think that much of me. So it's really just whose opinion do you follow? Both people drew a lot of money and have a lot of experience. It's just what the people that are in charge, their opinion of you is at a certain time. And there's always going to be way more bodies than positions available. So it's going to get.
Yeah, but why? I mean, why do people take the time, right, to base their opinion of you and your work? And one can say, I like him. The other one can say, I don't like, then they don't use you at all. I don't think that should. Everybody I talk to in the business, I worked you a couple of times down in Florida on the Saturday morning show. Everybody in the business said, this guy's a good worker. He's a great worker. Terry Taylor, everybody thought you was a great worker. But because we had so many superstars in the business, it was it wasn't a room. It wasn't room for everybody. Even people don't know, even Chris Jericho and those guys, they wasn't hardly on TV. They were doing the Saturday shows and on their spots, but those guys weren't hardly on TV.
Right.
So
the NWO, between NWO, Goldberg and Sting, Macho Man, and just these established superstars, and then you had the Japan contingency underneath that, and then you had Mortis the Cat, and that was so below that is just everybody else.
Everybody else. But you did get to work on probably the largest house WCW had. That was when Hogan dropped the belt to Goldberg, right? Did you work on that show?
That's right. Yeah, a lot of people ask me that because I think that is a record for. I think it's the biggest indoor attendance, biggest gate, biggest TV rating. Yep. Everything was all in that one shot.
Yep.
And to say you're on that card, especially when the young guys would come to me, we'll be at a show where there's 400 people. Big Swinger, how many people have you wrestled in front of? What's the biggest crowd? And I'm like, 40,000. And like, what? What do you mean? Like a WrestleMania? I'm like, no, Georgia Dome, July 98. Goldberg was the
Nitro.
Right?
I think it was more. I don't know, but I think the house was bigger than 40,000 people there because I was there that night too. I mean, it was huge. It was like a pay-per-view.
Right.
And that's what I was saying. How can they give you that platform to work on, right?
Yeah.
And not push you to the top if they think enough of you to work him, like Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon's not going to throw you on WrestleMania.
No.
If he have some doubts. Now, knowing you probably go and find Pat Patterson and talk a deal with him.
He's a Christian, Cat. Why are you doing this to him?
That's right.
My fault. I'm sorry, Johnny. I'm trying to be straight. You see, I got my game face on.
Well, we know Pat ain't straight, so
I had to throw that out there.
No, and like you said, I was fighting for a shot at the middle. You know what I mean? And that was a coveted place to be, as you know. And I know what the money was, and that money would still be great today. That's how good it was. So I left to come back. That's what I did. I left there because I thought going to ECW or going to WWF and get some kind of shot. I knew what you would get coming back. And that's what I was going for. And it was nowhere near the top. The middle was right.
Well, good.
50 to 750, Daddy.
Yeah.
I'll take some of that. You know,
the middle was good enough. I heard Disco came to me and said, "Hey, Cat, how much money you make?" I was like, "Bro, why are you asking me that in the middle of the time?" He said, "I'm gonna tell you this right now. You're not Disco. If you ain't making 500, 550, I don't care who you are. They cheating you. They're chump change. They paying these guys millions of dollars around here."
Right. He was on $1 million deal.
But and your character was just, I mean, you was a little bit more powerful than him as far as tools in the ring.
He was a good schmoozer, right? He was.
Hey, now you're talking about that Pat Patterson. Now you see where I was going.
Right.
Do you ever think if you had been a look, I'm not trying to go Diddy. I'm not going P Diddy. But do you think if you were just a little bit more of a suck up guy to some certain people, you might have got a good opportunity?
Yeah, and I remember thinking it then, but I just it's not a pride thing. I was just kind of like, it just doesn't feel right. I don't think, you know what I mean? I wasn't trained that way. I wasn't brought in that way. I was, you go there and you do what they tell you to do, and you don't question it. And you go, well, why am I not doing something better? That's considered whining. You know what I mean? It's like, so it's not enough for you to be wrestling in front of 40,000 people and getting bonused. I got bonus that night on top of my guarantee. So, I mean.
And there was so much money in WCW when you was there that you could make money just by walking in the back and they put you on a video game.
Right. Yeah. God. Yeah.
They're making a phone call. There was so much stuff going on in the business. But for you, you always kept your head straight. I never saw you like, I've seen a couple of guys looking suspicious, like they might have been on a few pills or drinking, always off key with something. You was one of the ones every time. What you see now, what I saw every time I saw you, you was in control. I used to try to mess with people's head, get in their head, talk crap to them. I could never do it. You just smile and let it go and turn your back. And I know what you said when you walked away, that jackass. But you didn't say it to me. So I'm like, I can't get to Johnny. But Johnny, listen, man, I really like it. I mean, you've always been one of my favorites. So when we're doing this show right here, I'm not trying to go out and I'm getting people that I really appreciated in the business. And for you to still be in the business this long, man, with this long career, you got to go into the office somewhere. You got to be in the office somewhere. You got to be back there leading some of these young talent. How is it to work with young talent now versus back then?
I like it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, and I have done some. I was doing towards the end of the last TNA run there. I was sitting in on production meetings, and there's another organization, NWA, run by Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. I was working there as a backstage producer, so I got enough experience doing that to realize that I like it and that I think I could be pretty good at it. And like you said, for the future, I'd love to get an opportunity to do that. And could always go. You never say never with WWE. It's got all new ownership. Not that I had any issues with prior ownership, just different as a talent, coming in as something else. You know what I mean? You never know. And like you said, I just keep getting more and more experience. Every time I go to one of these towns, I see something, I hear something. And, I like helping the guys. They ask me what I think of their match. And a lot of times you can't stand out there and watch all the matches. So I tell them what an old timer tells me. He'd say it sounded good, which means that if the people are into it, it's a good match. So don't stress about it. Don't overthink it, and don't overdo it. That's one of the things
and don't have them to overproduce it.
Overthinking, overproducing. And it's like, guys, we're one of 14 matches here tonight. You don't have to do everything in this match. Just get your signature stuff in, and that's what the people remember. You dancing with the James Brown, that's the stuff people remember. If you can't do an impression of the guy, then he's missing something.
Listen, all the high kicks, all the stuff I thought I had to do that people gonna remember and pop for, they pop more for that James Brown thing than any other thing that I ever done, because it was entertainment too. People come to wrestling not just to see guys roll around and slam each other. They come to entertain. So when you got a character or you got something like that and make them watch, they love it, man. And today when I don't see enough of that. Matter of fact, I might see too much, because you got the guy with his hands in his pants, in his pocket. He fighting everybody, and everybody won't be this tough guy.
Right.
Everybody won't be the tough guy. I watched today old WCW on the YouTube channel, and I watched one match, and they had Scott Hall, Nash, Sting, Lex. Man, you know how big those guys looked in the ring? They was huge. And the crowd was busy the whole time they was in the ring. They told good stories, man. They look, people ask me, what did I like about wrestling? I said, you know what? I used to watch wrestling. Wrestling used to be like that old uncle who overweight, heavy at the cookout, always talking about he gonna whoop somebody.
Right here, what? If you're gonna talk about
me, whoop somebody, you know what? And now, finally on TV, you get to see that uncle in the ring. Let's see what he gonna do. So we watching the match tell the story of that uncle who said he can do something, but in the ring, he falls short all the time. Now, even if he lost, are you going to pick your uncle up and say, I love you, uncle, and we'll get him next time? Or you going to just say, I'm not speaking to that guy again. I'm not ever speaking to him again. That's what wrestling is about.
Right.
It's about, it's about the beginning, the middle, and the end.
That's right. And filling the rest.
When you calling all these different moves, it's like I did a kick one time and I thought they were going to pop. Boom, I did the kick, now I went down and they were still quiet. So now I got to get up and do an even bigger kick, to make them pop. But that wasn't it. You got to connect and say, hey, call something. Sunset flip. Then you pull me back, then I chop you and boom, and go down on you. The crowd pop with that. They don't just pop with one move. But today, crowd, man, it's just totally different.
Right.
And it's good. It's good to see somebody like you still in the business today. You're still running shows. You're still looking good.
How do you train? Are you in the gym? Are you a gym guy? Are you a cardio guy? What do you do?
Always
stay in shape.
Yep. I always do like a bodybuilding type workout, and then it's not just for show. A lot of it is, but I think it's lent to my longevity as well. Even though I'm not a big guy, I actually have naturally wide shoulders and a thick upper back, traps and neck and all that stuff, which can take the punishment of the bumps and stuff, as opposed to a guy that's kind of narrow and a skinny neck. You know what I mean? So I think that I have a good frame for durability of being able to take the bumps over the years and with my neck, you know what I mean? I don't have any problems with my neck or anything like that. And I always train those muscles, you know what I mean? I do back and shoulders. I do my shrugs, you know what I mean? And it's for cosmetic, and it's for being able to withstand the punishment in the ring. So it's put it all together, and
So when you were trained by Ron Hutchinson and Sweet Daddy Siki, that's kind of a Canadian influence. How did that come about? Because you're an American, right? You're not Canadian, are
Right.
you?
No, I'm not, but I live right on the border. I'm from Buffalo, New York, Niagara
Oh,
Falls,
okay.
actually, which is you can walk across the bridge to Canada.
Bill's
So
Mafia.
that camp was in Toronto, which is about a 90-minute drive from where I lived. So I drove back and forth 90 minutes both ways, 2 to 3 nights a week for 9 months to train to be a wrestler.
I was often wondered how the Canadian influence got there, because they got you billed from Long Island.
That was a total, one of their people made that up. But no, I'm from Buffalo. I trained in Canada. I started in Winnipeg with a guy named Tony Condello, who broke in Roddy Piper, and who's famous for running the Arctic tours where you drive in vans over frozen lakes and stuff. So I almost lost my life on more than one occasion just trying to become a wrestler.
Wow.
So once again, when you're walking at a ring in the Georgia Dome and it takes you 5 minutes to get to the ring because there's so many people there, you kind of think back, well, man, I could be in a frozen van right now, and I'm getting a weekly guarantee and a bonus, and I'm only 30 minutes from my house, by the way. So
amen, brother.
Yeah, just grateful,
But isn't that a good thing, though? I mean, that's something in your life that not many people get to feel, that experience something like that, especially you doing something that you're so good at that you draw the fans. You in the big house. You make the money is there. I mean, how did that make you feel? Does it make you feel like you hit the lottery, or
I think I was fortunate to get opportunities. That WCW was a huge break for me, and that didn't happen right away. I was on a nightly. I was making $200 a night for about 2 years. So when they gave me a guaranteed contract, that's when they must see something in me, or they could just keep paying me $200 a night. You know what I mean? So they didn't just sign anybody back then. So that was a huge break, and worldwide TV.
Who got you in? Who got you in? Who was the first person you made contact with?
I'll tell you exactly, and he's still a good friend. I work for him to this day. Scott D'Amore saw me on a Winnipeg TV wrestling show, which was probably one of my first matches ever. And he thought I had a good look and a flashy outfit, and thought I'd be good for TV. And he was booking the job guys at the time. In the early to mid 90s, they were using 30 to 40 job guys at a TV taping. So that was a big business then. And he thought I was 19 years old. He thought I had a good look, and he called me. I never met him before. And right, that's when I met Rhino. He was one of the guys.
We drive to
Atlanta together from Detroit and get the crap kicked out of us by the Nasty Boys and drive all the way back. And that's how I got my start. And WCW took more of a liking to me. They started booking me directly. And I started doing those Disney tapings, which were, sometimes a week and a half, 2 weeks long. And
they were fun. How much fun was it? I mean, that's all you did. We went and got our own little condo, and for 2 weeks we were down in Florida working, wrestling, having a great time. Did you enjoy yourself?
That was the best. Yeah, that was the best. It really was, to do TV down there. Like you said, it was sometimes we'd start in the morning, right? Remember 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
You'd be out, you wrestle on those first couple tapes. You're done for the day, man. Go do whatever you want in Disney there. It was,
was Dusty booking back then, baby?
No.
I don't think Dusty was booking WCW. He was, I was under him later at TNA. He was booking TNA, and then he was in New York when I was there. But Dusty may have came back in the late 90s there when I was getting ready to leave.
He came back in when I jumped the rope. He was there. Glacier.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell these guys before we let you go here, John. I was trying to tell you was my first TV match. Was Johnny?
I thought so. Yeah, and, I thought so.
I had to eat some crow on that because I forgot all about it. I did not know that.
And when we had the match, I remember them. They were putting me only with guys who could work. They said, cause they were trying to save me, everybody I work with, they said, he's a great worker. Just go when I talked to you, it was easy to work with. And when we had that little mishap, when I kicked you in your nose, I remember telling you I was gonna do this kick. We went over a few times. Then I said, Johnny, protect yourself. So you can put your hands up if you want to. You said, no, no, no. I know how to take it. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I said, no,
That was
put your hands
that's
up.
a young and dumb thing to do, and the
Yeah.
guys do it to this day.
I
I
said,
would not walk into a Shawn Michaels kick without
yeah,
protecting
that's what I
myself.
said. So I
Yeah, you
said,
get older, you get smarter.
so
Yeah,
I said, when I do the kick, Johnny, just use your hand and catch it and go backward.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I did the kick. Instead of going backward, you said, no, I want to make you look good. I remember those last ones. I
yeah.
said, don't
You
make me
made you
look
look good,
good.
all right.
I said, protect yourself, because I don't know how to control it, but they wanted me to do the kick. So soon I jumped and did that spinning kick. I saw you go forward. Then I saw the kick hit your nose and you went back. And when I went back through the curtain, Miss Jacqueline was the first one. Like, wow, that was a great kick. Man, I need you to be my bodyguard. I was like, man, I hope I didn't kill the guy, because I think I hit him in the face. And you came down with blood like this. And I said, and you said, first thing you said, I didn't know it was that fast. You know, I didn't know it was gonna come that fast. But you know what, man? You forgave me, and you told me you know it's okay. And I think you got a extra paycheck or something, because you showed me happy. You know, so I want to thank you too, man, for coming on the Cat's Corner here, man. And we're gonna chop this up and put it out good, because you're a good person, man. You're a good person. I enjoy being around you. Every time we see you, just like this. It could be years when I see you. It's all about just laughing. I never saw you in a bad mood. But let me ask you this right here. What do you think happened to Scott in TNA? Because TNA, when it was Impact, this dude was running the show and it was doing pretty dang good. Right?
Yeah, you came there. We did a little spot on TV. They're smart to put us together in the same segment. And that was his doing, because he knows you and I will be good together in a segment. And even if it goes completely the other way, what they plan out, it's still going to be entertainment value, right? I think that he got crossed with the upper people there with that anthem. The corporations, they always want to save money. And then the guy they got running the business for him, he sees you got to spend money. And in this case, talent. I think he wanted to bring in some bigger name talent, and they didn't want to do that. And they had a lot of ins and outs about it. That's as far as I know. And as good of a friend as he is of mine for 30 years, I never asked him, like, hey man, what happened there? Because I kind of disappeared after that, but you never look at an opportunity like, hey man, I had 4 years on there. So it's like nothing lasts forever, especially in wrestling. It's always a temporary job. So
but he was doing good. From what I could see,
they said that it had something to do with money.
Ray, hold up.
Always
money.
Hold up, Ray.
Why did I leave WCW? Money. It's you always want more money.
Let me ask you this, Johnny. Do you think that they was in the process of moving to where they are now with WWE? Do you think
I was under the understanding that Scott started that interaction with them because he had worked for them previously, and you know what I'm saying? So I figured he was the liaison when Jordan Grace and these other wrestlers started going to the NXT. That's what I was under and I thought it was going to be a huge deal for the company. I thought he was the person behind that. But
he was working with Triple H. And they were doing the Mickey James crossover on the Royal Rumble.
I know I know he set those deals up with
but see, maybe he placed himself right out of the job.
They tried to say he embezzled. They tried to say he embezzled money.
I never heard that.
That he spent money on his personal self.
I never. Ray, watch your mouth. I've never heard that.
I'm just telling you what I heard. Just telling you what I heard.
Wait a minute. Who did you hear that from?
Well, I'm just telling you. We all got our sources. So
no, you're a mark. You told me my first match was when I jumped in the ring with Glacier to find out you was wrong. So who are your sources?
I was wrong about 40 days in a Saturday morning show that I don't watch. So you got me.
You showed it, watched the Monday nights, baby, because you knew who we was. Me and Johnny Swinger lit up your front room at nights for
Correct. The swing man cometh.
Yeah.
Yes, baby.
Yeah,
I think he got a raw deal, but I think he's gonna land on his feet.
I
think
can
you're
tell
going to
you
hear from
one
him
thing.
again.
I can tell you one thing I know for sure about Scott. He does not need to embezzle money.
Money, I
Correct.
know.
Believe me.
Correct. I think that
He-
they're trying not. I shouldn't use the word embezzle. I would say misappropriated
Okay,
some
No,
that
money.
sounds more.
no.
Yeah,
Hey, wait a minute, Ray.
right.
That's totally different.
It
That's
wasn't going to me. I can tell you that much.
embezzlement
It
and
was like maybe a vacation or something got paid for with their
Oh God.
money, something like that, something
Hey,
along those lines.
Oh man.
hey, listen, he get his information from the internet.
Oh man.
He don't know who the information putting it out
Whatever.
there.
They said I'm from
Whatever.
Long Island, New York on the internet. That's not real. Don't
Long
Yeah,
Island
that's
iced
not
tea,
real.
baby. But
That's not real.
that's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
listen here, big man. I'm glad you came. I enjoyed this time, which has been an hour, and it was easy. It's not hard. It's not hard to
Always
talk
right.
to a cat.
That's right.
No, I enjoyed talking to you, man. If you ever want to come back and you want to put some, let people know where they can see you or book you. Are you still taking bookings?
Oh, 100%. I'm actually going, if this is live, I'm flying up to Canada tomorrow to do Scott D'Amore's Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling shows.
Get 'em,
They're
Big
live.
Daddy.
Stream those live on Triller TV. You can see me live Friday night against
Who
Billy Gunn.
you wrestling?
I'm in a big 8-man tag. I got a heck of a team against Billy Gunn, and he's got a team, and it's going to be excitement personified, Daddy. So check it out.
Well, hey, make sure you tell Scott I said hello because him and I always been really good friends, even back in the WCW days.
Right.
Always
right.
liked that guy. So
Absolutely. I'll see him Friday, and I'll tell him we did this great podcast here.
Yeah, watch
Amen.
your mouth now. The way you talk about my podcast too, Johnny. It almost slipped. It's like you wanted to say something else. Watch your mouth, Johnny. I'm gonna see you
I think
again.
I got a litter box to clean here. That reminds me.
Yeah. I'm on. No, that's your cat. Don't let that cat get you in trouble, Johnny.
That's not a two-headed cat. That's two cats.
Okay, well,
Two
no,
cats.
no, it's all right, brother. Hey, Johnny, thanks.
Appreciate you coming on.
man.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast.
All right, thank you, man.